Hello and welcome to the Mysticast, where you join me, Jack Stafford, a student of metaphysics, as I talk to a variety of guests to better understand the teachings given by the masters through the Aetherius Society, the new cosmic religion for the Aquarian Age, incorporating all yogas, Christian mysticism, theosophy, UFOs, and much, much more. Please note this is an independent project, not fact-checked or produced by the Aetherius Society. Today, my guest is Debra Littleboy. Hello, Debra.
Hi, Jack. Good to be here. Thanks
It's
for
great.
inviting me.
It's my pleasure. Actually, this is a different episode to all the other ones I've done before. This is a chance for me to take a breath and just chat about the shows that have gone in the past. So I wanted someone who's not written a book, just somebody ordinary. You're not too ordinary, Deborah. Special in your way, but hasn't got their own project to talk about. So just a kind of sounding board. So I thought, who can I chat to? Who can I banter with? And then your name came top to mind.
Excellent. Okay. Well, that's what I like to hear.
Because these interviews I've done have just flown by. I'm up to 17 episodes now, and I haven't even had a chance to go back and listen to them or pause. It's just been so much inspiration, and so I hope we could just chat for the next hour, just go through them, and it also be an opportunity for anyone listening to where to start. Maybe they just listen to this episode and say, yeah, actually those 3 episodes were the ones I was interested in.
Mm.
So yeah, just chat about it. And I'd also like to do this regularly. This is a bit much to do it over 17 episodes. I think every 5 episodes I'll get a different listener to come on the show and not overload you every time, Deborah. I need to spread the burden here. I saw a little perspiration of sweat just run down.
Oh, I thought it was a tick. I felt my eyes sort of like twitch a little bit there.
No. This is anyone. Just write in the comments on YouTube or send me a message on anchor.fm, little vocal message, or write to me via my website and just say, I'd like to chat to you, Jack. And you can come on the show and just get in a listener's perspective. And also it's someone to chat to, because I'm benefiting so much from this show, listening to discovering all these people. It's like every interview seems to fit perfectly on top of the next one. It's like, I'm gradually someone up there is doing the scheduling for me.
No, I'm absolutely certain that's true. And there's the other thing as well, is that as we expand our own consciousness by taking in all this information and different perspectives, it allows the neural links not that I know anything about neural links in the brain, but we just go with that at the moment. We're sort of making more connections, and so things that would bypass suddenly connect. So you get some triggers, and it leads to different things. It's like a kid's game, isn't it? Where I'm thinking of an animal, what type of animal, and then you've got this word association thing going on. And I think that the world works a little bit more. The world of Debra certainly works that way. So yeah, it's all
Yeah,
good. Yeah,
yeah, and all the
really good.
guests, they recommend different people to come on. So
Mm.
if I'm genuinely interested in that person, then I'll follow up on their guests. And
Mm.
if I'm not interested in the guests, then that's kind of a dead end. I don't follow more down
Mm.
their
Mm.
path. So it kind of, yeah, there's all these evolutionary processes at work, and it's definitely pushing the show to greater and greater heights, I think.
Yeah, brilliant.
All right, so well, let's dive in. I know you haven't listened to all of these episodes, Deborah, and we've only got an hour, so we're not gonna go in depth on every episode, but we'll just whip through them. And
Okay.
then anytime I've seen you've made copious notes. This is really setting the standard very high, the bar here for future guests. So the first episode was with Dan A. Davidson, a shape power book.
Yeah.
I actually bought his book in Italian here, Il potere della forma, the power of form.
Yeah.
So what did you think of that, Deborah?
Well, really interested in that because I'm following Jane 108, which is about sacred geometry.
What's
And
that?
so
Hang on, don't you give me more guests here. I'm
I,
gonna make notes.
no, don't worry, lovey. I can send you this through. Jane 108 is fabulous. He's in Australia, and he's been studying sacred geometry for 40, 50 years.
Mhm.
And he explains that the way that shapes have power and how they're used. So when I went and listened to this, and Mr. Davidson was saying things about the pyramid, and how he felt the power going through the healing power of the pyramid. He was then talking about pi, and at school, pi 1.342 was what I was always taught, and indeed that's what is it Dania was his name, or Daniel maybe. Anyway,
Yeah.
doesn't matter. He had used pi as 3.1415, but Jane 108 has actually said that that's not pure. It was distorted, and the pure pi is 3.144.
Ooh.
So I won't go into all of that because actually I've taken a whole hour. But when it's shown, like drawing the circles and how the lines intersect, and how the free energy, which of course what Tesla was all about, is
Yeah.
free energy. And he was they didn't take that forward because of course there's no money in free energy, is there, Jack? So that made like all right, in my mind, perfect sense. Like when I heard about what Jane 108 was saying, it reminded me of Tesla and his free energy, and everything's on phi, which is 1.618. I'm just getting boring now, I know, but the whole
Cut to
thing
the chase,
was,
Ezra. Yeah.
yeah, the whole thing is that Mr. Davidson, who I was actually feeling that energy which had been built by the ancients when he was in the pyramid.
Well,
Actually felt that free energy, the vortex.
yeah. It really, I didn't understand it before, but I kind of if the sun is pumping out energy, which we all agree with, even everyone understands that, and these atoms of
Mm,
light, wherever, are coming down, and then this pyramid shape kind of pushes them out, and then it's we're moving, but we're standing still. So there is movement. It's not stationary, is it? So
mm.
it's just a way of channeling this energy, and yeah,
Yeah, no friction, which means that unlimited free energy.
right. But there is kind of friction, so the energy is flowing through, and then it collects
Well,
in these.
only a flow. Whereas where it's so frictions that it gets fragmented. And of course, then you have to work harder. The more friction you've got, the harder it is to get the energy through.
Yeah,
Then it's wasted energy.
I would
Yeah.
love to have a. I would love to have listened to a conversation with him and Michael Scully, or someone who know, or your guy, between these guys, because
Mm.
so that more intelligent. I just like to listen to more intelligent people having conversations, because I was approaching this from the very, I didn't really understand any of it. It's complicated, but
But the fact is that it's really great that you did go in from that perspective, because you get too much of a highbrow conversation going on. The people like you and myself just like completely get left behind.
yeah, that's a good point.
So we have to start at the lowest step because we don't want to leave anybody out.
Okay, that's great. I think making me feel better there, Deborah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe get him back on the show then, and I like these trialogues where there's more than one guest or more than one interviewer, because you miss things and we all have different levels of understanding. And so, yeah, this could be something for the future.
Yeah. Real.
All right. Next one was Life After Death with Rodney Crosby and Ashima Hoikanip, who we know from the Aetherius Society in
We
LA.
do. And I have to admit, I hadn't listened to that at
No
all.
problem. No, well, that's one you should listen to. That was really good.
Mm.
They were, it's also for you and I, it's more of a beginner one, because I got it from a few of these episodes were inspired by presentations done from the Aetherius Society members to external members. So they're covering things which are that we as members kind of know and take for granted. So,
Mhm.
as I get in, as they're not doing a presentation, I kind of go in more in depth and ask them about, things I'm interested in. And, but yeah, that's a good introduction to the teachings of life after death, according to the Aetherius Society. And then the next one, I had another LA Aetherius member, Michael Scully, who's been on 3 times. So did you listen to any of Michael's episodes?
I'm driving Dr. King.
Yeah, Yeah.
was the only one. Um, yeah, I didn't know very much about Michael. Obviously, I'd seen him as a minister, um, doing the services, but I hadn't really realised what a forceful character he was. And it took my breath away a little bit that he was very, very forthright and um, not frightened to give his opinion. Uh, but yes, he obviously led a very checkered life and was obviously destined, or arranged it before he came down on this time round to to go out to LA. So he went into a family that had the finances to
Hmm.
send him out to the States to study. If I've got it right, he went out to study, and then he was trying to fit in working at the society and doing his studies. And then he put his studies before the society, which I found really interesting. And so he had this like yo-yo effect of going to and from, like almost like a repel and attract um, relationship with the society in the early years. Um, but yeah.
And he left the society midway through. He explained, but I didn't get that quite why, but I didn't push on it. But
Mm,
yeah, there's all these karmic effects at play. And but he's just somebody who to speak to, because in 500 years I don't know when the new master's coming, but anyway,
mm,
he's one of the apostles. No, he's one of the originals. He's mentioned in A Visit to the Logos of Earth as well. He's mentioned in, and he worked with Dr. King to bring to life many of these. He was his draftsman. He's his right hand man in many of these operations to build the equipment.
yeah.
It's like speaking to a bit of history.
Absolutely. And of course the story is with the when when he did the drawings for I think it was Sunbeam, when he did the drawings for Sunbeam, he actually was somewhere else. And he had to when Dr. King got the inspiration for it, Michael was something like 300 miles away on a mission. And but by chance, and of course we know that that doesn't exist, some other part of the team had lost a piece of the equipment,
Yeah,
and so Mike was actually on his way back as Dr. Kim was thinking, oh, I need somebody here to do the draftsmanship.
yeah.
Just like, yeah,
So that
incredible.
I'm interviewing him again later today. So that episode will go in about a month. But I'm going to
Mm,
ask him about the temples and why they didn't build them, and where the the energy radiators came in instead.
mm,
Um, yeah, it's so much to unpack with these teachings, and yeah, he really is a wealth of knowledge about it all, and he knows why the missions did this and what happened with that, and it's a lot to unpack for us coming into it. So
mm.
it's great that he's there to do this. I mean, he's a real regular, and I'm really just honored to be able to speak to members like that. I've tried to get other older members on as well, but some of them are more, they're not, they're not, they're older basically.
More reserved.
Well, Charles Abrahamson is like 90 and things like that. So
Yeah.
yeah. And then the next episode was the struggle for world sanity with Wajid Hassan.
Yeah. What a lovely man.
Yeah.
Well, I actually wrote a little note to him afterwards and said that how much I really enjoyed listening to him. And now I'm talking to you. I can't remember a thing about what I'd actually listened. So I have a little look at me notes here. Yeah. Um, the thing that struck me was when he's talking to two other friends, Rob Crosby and another guy, and the other guy goes, "What should we do today? What should we do tonight? Oh, let's go out to the desert." And then they went, "Yeah, all right, let's go out to the desert." And so they've gone out to the desert, and then they've got a UFO that's coming out of like the sand in front of them. So there was this like, it wasn't let's go out and look for UFOs. It was just like, yeah,
Well, he has
just
like a sixth sense then, doesn't he? He was in
yeah.
England that time, and he went out to the middle of England, to a reservoir in the middle of nowhere or somewhere,
Mm.
and then the UFO flew. He stayed up all night, and the UFO came over his head. Some
Yeah,
spectacular sightings.
yeah. But the thing that gives me encouragement, Jack, is that they didn't know. They just knew they had to be somewhere.
Mm.
Now, I often think I have to be somewhere, but then when I'm going there, I forget why I was even going. But I don't think that is quite on the
That's a
same.
different thing.
Yeah, yeah. But it must be working towards it. I'm thinking
Yeah, I'm going
must
to the
be,
kitchen and then one
yeah,
day there'll be a UFO there, but I forget why I was there.
yeah, exactly right. Yeah, something like that. But the way that he explained it and his whole manner of gentle sincerity. What a beautiful man. I'm so pleased that he's joined our Facebook group, because I think he's just going to bring so much to it. So
Yeah, he's doing so much as well, going on other podcasts.
mm,
Actually, the idea to speak to you came from listening to Wedgie's on another podcast where he's talking about the devil.
mm,
There's this podcast where they talk about the devil from all different aspects, and Wedgie's contacted them and said, "I've got a unique take for you. You know, the devil is dead." Just doing all this to promote the society. And then at the end of that podcast with him, they afterwards they have the podcast host has two of his friends chatting for an hour about the conversation. And that was so interesting to hear other people's perspectives of the Aetherius Society teachings, because they're not known, you know. This is
mm,
I know what the rough teachings of Judaism. I know the rough teachings of Islam. I don't claim to claim knowledge, but I could, I can sum it up, but nobody can do that with the Aetherius Society. So this is
mm,
where G's really trying to get this knowledge out. And those people, listening after it, they said these things concepts I'd never heard of. You know, that the Earth is a living being,
mm.
and things like that. So
Yeah, it is pretty wild, isn't it? Some of the teachings when I first took them in, it was just like, oh well, I've swallow deep, cup of tea. Have to come back to that, because there's so much I had to there's so much in my mind that had
mm,
to come out and be transmuted before there was room for this other stuff to actually to take root, if you want to. It's yeah,
you mean you had prejudices, or you had to
yeah.
replace
Yeah, it was.
knowledge?
I think but it's like I had outdated modes of information. Didn't even realize was in there. But when the new piece of information come in, it just sort of jangled within me. So
Mm,
it just didn't. I couldn't find a fit for it. And yet I was so drawn, and I knew that this was my route from the almost from day one. I
mm,
knew there was enough there that I had to get hold of it. So it's forced the me to actually dig deep into my shadows, um,
mm,
and then look at them for actually how they are.
mm,
What's actually going on here? What gave me that um, those thoughts or what made me? Because of course you're made by your thoughts, and a lot of the thoughts have been like drip fed me from when I came into this world. And so the teachings, which I'm taking as like, no, this is the truth. Everything else that's jangling has to be looked at to see where it fits in.
mm.
Yeah. So yeah,
But
eight
truth has
years. Yeah.
truth has a ring to it now, doesn't it? It
Mm,
has a note.
yeah.
It resonates, and we use our discernment. But yeah, you can definitely pick up on it, can't you? And that's what I've also tried to use that with these guests
Mm,
is when they're not in the society, or even, well, the next guest, Mark Tassi, who talked about astral projection. He has some very strange experiences, and not everything he says, also on his social media, and that is not doesn't resonate with me
uh-huh.
completely. Um, so I also take bits of, because all the individuals of the whole though have a different interpretations of the teachings, and
Yeah.
not everyone who joins this society has, like, well, we probably disagree on many things, Deborah.
Mm,
So you know.
yeah. Well, Mark Tassi, I was fascinated by his Alistair Crowley connection. And the reason for that is that had done a little bit of investigation on Aleister Crowley, and I'm a tarot reader, and at one stage I had 22 sets of tarot, and I used to read from them all in one go. Nutcase, nut job. But one of the sets was Aleister Crowley's tarot, and I got what he was saying. I understood, because what Aleister Crowley was saying is that it's the law of karma, is that you can do whatever you want to, but you've got to pay the price. I mean, that's Debra's take on it. So he would say, do what you will, do whatever you want to do. And of course, he did whatever he wanted to do, and we know this because he was selfish and a black magician. But the fact of the matter is, he wasn't saying that he didn't come without consequences. And so, yeah.
Well, I won't read anything about Aleister Crowley. I don't want to know anything about him, because I think when you study someone, you you take on a bit of their energy, and I don't have enough control over my mind.
Mm.
You know, he'll come into my consciousness, so I don't want anything to do with him, because I know, like, Jeremy's told me some pretty rough stories about what he did when he was in London.
Sure.
He was really not a nice person.
No, absolutely not.
So,
And I get that totally. But he was actually a seeker of the truth. And he did know the workings, but he chose to use the workings in a not in a selfless manner, not in a way to actually evolve. He did it for his own selfish, evil ways.
yeah.
Which, yes, but not an unknowledgeable man. Very
No, but
powerful.
I've got
Very
enough.
powerful.
I've got enough knowledge. I'm overflowing with knowledge from
You
Dr.
don't.
King, and I'm
No.
not. You know, maybe I could make that excuse before I found the teachings, but
Mm.
I mean, yeah, there's no need to learn anything that he's ever said, as far as I'm concerned. Just
And I agree.
yeah,
And in fact, this was before I found the teachings too. So
yeah.
I've done many cul-de-sacs, Jack.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I had a whole history of going into cul-de-sacs.
But we talked about that, didn't we? We talked about that
Mm.
after a lecture with, if we listened to, from Dr. King, where he specifically says this will happen to you if you've rejected the teachings in a past life.
Mm.
You will suffer these cul-de-sacs
Yeah.
as everyone says, karma. So
Mm. Yeah.
you're a bad girl, Deborah. And
Oh, I absolutely think I've had a checkered and
mm,
checkered incarnations.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're not too bad, because you're here now. So
Well, it taken me quite a while to get,
yeah,
didn't it?
it did. Yeah.
Yeah, late 50s before I even found the society. And I was desperately searching from a child.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
Well, it also just goes to show, if you do have that hunger, you don't knock on the door. The law is eventually
Mm.
someone
Yeah.
must open it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything
Mm.
else from Mr. Mark Tassi? Did
No, that was it from Mark. Sorry, Mark. That was
you? There was Gino Scaldoni, who's
yeah.
from me.
Again, I didn't refresh on that, but I'd listened to Gino's when he had come on, and didn't he do the Iron Man or something from it was very poorly, and then he built his strength up to
Yeah, he did a lot of
Iron.
pranayama. Yeah.
Yeah.
Trained to do an Ironman. He was in no shape at all. And yeah, it was a really, is I discovered there's only 18 members of the society in Canada.
Is
Like,
that true?
I know, it's crazy. Just gives you an idea of how small, how long how much potential we have.
18 members, because Ashima came from the Toronto group, didn't she?
Yeah,
Before she
yeah.
went to LA. So they might have had 19 at one
He might
stage.
have reduced them, but he
Yeah,
got moved to
yeah,
LA.
it's a bit mean of her, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But the other thing, of course, that Gino has proven that to actually build habits, you have to do it slowly and
Mm.
progressively, as opposed to the way that I tend to go about things, like bull in a china shop and then end up with, you know, putting myself back. So yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that discipline of actually building things slowly.
Well, he had that martial arts back training, which
Mm,
you and I probably
happen.
didn't go through. So yeah, it's all these different teachings give you different trainings which enable you. But I got a lot from speaking to him about the importance of doing it gradually and how it benefits the pranayama and the mantra. Yeah, he was up to an hour and a half of pranayama when he was doing his Ironman. How much training that involved in that, and he still managed to do pranayama.
But then Gandhi, didn't he? Oh, I'm going to
Oh, that's a
paraphrase
good
this.
quote. Yeah, I know this.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Well, I don't need to probably say it, but I'm going to anyway, Jack. Um,
We are
because
on a podcast.
yeah, yeah, and I am your guest. Yeah. So, yeah, Gandhi said that he did an hour a day praying, unless he was busy, and then he did 2 hours.
Exactly. Very good.
Yeah.
And he was an ascended master, which is well, not sorry, a planetary one, as we now
You
know.
didn't know that.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And then we're back. Then the next episode was also with Michael Scoley. We went into talk more about he's regular now, so check into all of his episodes. Really, really great. And then after that was Julian Rosser, who's from New Zealand, but now works in London as a full-time staff member.
And he was talking about Lemuria and Atlantis, wasn't he?
Yeah, ancient civilizations.
Where we'd sort of come from. I'm sorry, Julian, but I did sort of a bit of a skim through your his podcast with you, Jack, because I just listened to him do the
Well, you know it.
Aetherius
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
So
yeah.
but yeah, it is fascinating, of course, that we have come from Maldak, so we've blown up a planet,
Mm.
and then we come here. It might took us like millions of years, some of us, to actually start to reincarnate, and then we blow up our civilization twice, and then here we are now. Just like nutty, isn't it? Just nut. And I'm sure that I had quite a bit to do with some of that.
I'm sure people like us were active, Deborah, aren't we?
Yeah.
And
Oh,
if society has bad karma, I'm sure we were.
Yeah, right in there with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to know what we've been up to. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've got some blocks on that, Jack.
One day we'll know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, also the time frame is just so much longer than anyone thinks about, isn't it? As we come to I talk about with a later guest, but people think it's, because they go on Plato and his timing is completely off, because we're talking about millions of years through the process. So yeah.
There's something that's puzzled me. You might have something that you can give to this. The dinosaurs died out 65 million years ago. So some 47 million years before we started to come from Maldek.
18 million years ago, yeah, we came.
Yeah, we came. So but so 47 million years before that, the dinosaurs were just leaving, if you want.
The last traces, because they did die over many. They suffered a lot, didn't they? They had a few impacts, and
and when you look at dinosaurs, their karma must have been terrible, because what awful bodies they got. But mutilated bodies were the dinosaur bodies. What do you think on that? I mean, you wouldn't, if you were perfect, you wouldn't be a T-Rex, would you? Be a tiny little army things, would you?
I don't know if they
come from.
Well, I have no idea, absolutely no idea, but I can just spout some rubbish if you'd like to.
Yeah, well, you join me then.
Because there was Maldek Man before us on Earth, and he was a lot taller than us, and he was a lot more evolved.
Adamic Man,
yeah. So he would have probably been here at the same time as the dinosaurs. And actually, there's a book written about the giants, about skeletons of giants found in different, and all the museums in the world apparently have relics of giants, but they were been put away in the vaults. Yeah, I should get that guest on, but there is many relics of giants. So, and people say, about the civilizations, just to digress a moment, they say, where's there's no records of everything, but if there's a change like that, plastic and metal, they degrade, they'd be destroyed over the millions of years. So they'd only be stone and bone as we see. And I don't know about you, but I've never discovered a dinosaur bone, and so they are discovered. But it's like with everything, we get shown what we need, people want us. Some people want us to see. So
Mm.
I'm sure there are many, and there's another thing called I'm trying to get this guy on about, what was it, ancient archaeology or the ancient aliens. This is something I have to look into with other guests. I'll have to come back to you on this, Deborah.
Excellent.
But
Okay. Thank you. That's
but
your
we
homework.
but maybe the dinosaurs, because on other planets we're told there are trees that are many years, millions of years more evolved than us. Many, can have a conversation with the tree on Venus probably, and so maybe the animals are more evolved, and yeah, I don't know if they're in our evolutionary strain, but or maybe they were just animals more further evolved. I don't know, no idea.
No, no, no. Best stick with the teacher. So,
That's a
what?
question of Dr. King. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then the next guest was Naomi Bates, who has talked about the Master Jesus, my Christmas episode.
yeah,
Naomi was lovely to speak to. We did a meditation together, did
yeah.
prayer.
Well, I come from a Christian background, as many people do, especially in the UK. Um, and I too was reticent to come to a society because I felt that I would be betraying Jesus if I made Dr. King my master.
Ah.
And I couldn't sign to become a society member. I would walk round the table and I could not sign it. Just could not, because I kept thinking I can't have two masters. Can't ride two horses with just one bottom, can you? You can only have one master. And it took me a long, long time and a lot of fighting before I actually got it straight in my mind that um, it was okay. Because did I believe that Dr. King was actually channeling the Master Jesus? Yes, no doubt.
Uh,
Absolutely no doubt. So if it was good enough for Jesus, who was I to say that he wasn't good enough? And it took that.
what was the clincher? What was the tipping point?
Well, okay, long story as short as I can. These Jehovah Witnesses used to come and visit me quite regularly. And there was and I had the paperwork out on the table, and I just read "Join your ship." So
Mm.
this had all that happened in the morning. The knock on the door, and the Jehovah's Witnesses came in and they chatted to me, as they did, and had a cup of tea and all the rest of it. And as they went out, um, I had a thought come into my mind, not voice in my head, just a thought come into my mind, and it was, "Is that your ship?" i.e.
Mm.
Orthodox Christianity. No, no way. It was just like the whole, everything went, no, 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 nice people, absolutely no. So then, okay, if that's not your ship, what is your ship? Signed the document, signed the thing, off it went that day. Within like 20 minutes of them leaving, I'd put the application in the
Oh,
post.
isn't that funny?
It
I
was
came from
just,
I
yeah.
came from completely opposite background. I was raised an atheist. I was really like I used to protest in a religious studies class in school and didn't want to do anything about it. And so I have no attachment. So I have the opposite attachment. It's difficult for me to attach to the Master Jesus. So,
Yeah.
but it's funny how these have these different beliefs. I remember something else. There was this the Dutch branch of the Aetherius Society. I think they actually left. They left the society. They believed that Dr. King channeled the Master Jesus, but they didn't believe that he had the right to build temples or something like that. Isn't that incredible how these factions of, also Christianity is into
Yeah.
millions of factions? Isn't it how incredible how you can believe in that, but then it must be the ego at play and people want to, have some ownership. I don't know what's going on there, but
No, I'm absolutely sure it is ego. And the fact with the Christians used to get two armies facing each other, both with the Christian flag, to
yeah,
fight. I mean,
mm,
that's like crazy nutty, isn't it?
yeah. And Jesus tipped over the money lenders' tables, but there's so many Christian money making things. And I just, yeah, you can go on and on about this, but yeah.
Yeah, we do get in our way. We do get in the way of truth. Ego does get in the way of truth.
But the way Dr. King set up the society and the way he was moved from half the time in England, half the time in Los Angeles, it's kind of set up, I think, that this can't happen. And I think that's also why it's been deliberately kept small, is because even idiots like you and I can know that this is going to happen again in probably in the society. Someone is going to set up a faction of the Aetherius Society saying we're a little bit different because we believe in this part and that. I don't know how that's going to happen. I can't, but that would be just so stupid to do that. I don't know how that's going to happen. I guess it's the dark forces infiltrating and creating factions. That's a great way to bring an if you want to bring down a mountain, put some cracks in it. You know.
Yeah, well, that's right. The dark forces only want us to fight with each other.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. They feed on our fighting and being at odds with each other as opposed to oneness.
Yeah.
That's the biggie.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how it unfolds. Yeah. And then the next guest was a new member, Ernesto Villachis. Oh, I forgot how to say his name. I did have it before.
No, you're gonna have to tell me what he said because that wasn't one that I followed.
Well, he moved from Miami, Florida. He studied with Nehemiah Davis, who's also the I put on an open episode I had with Nehemiah from my Pod Songs project as the next episode, just so it's neatly following on because I wanted people to know about Nehemiah. And Ernesto, he moved from to Los Angeles, as many members done, to be a full-time staff member and to work there. So he really is taking it on board, and he has had some amazing spiritual healing. Gave me great advice with the spiritual healings. You know, breathing out, sending out the light. When you breathe out, send through the power, and yeah, just a really. He was 30, but he looked about 20. Very,
Yeah,
it's
he
definitely
does look
working the
young.
pranayama for some people. No, not for not for me, but yeah, you're looking younger every year, Deborah. But
Thank you. Well, I've had a touch up by Zoom.
okay,
So
there you go. One of those
yeah,
filters.
yeah.
And then I had Nehemiah on. Have you ever had?
Oh yeah, no, I was fascinated. I've got pages on him, so I won't go too much into it. But when he said when we came from Maldak, some stayed in the astral for millions and years until they were ready to
All of us,
re
all of us, yeah.
reincarnate. So yeah, but
All of us, because we couldn't. There wasn't the house wasn't ready yet. The earth was still had to dumb down and make the lower make all the realms and dumb down. There's a lot of
yeah,
work to do. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, because didn't you put a question, do we come from do we evolve from apes? That was
Hmm.
that was part of it. And of course he came with what we do know. If you don't need to have a lesson, then you're not, you're not going to get it. So he was like, you might, some might have just chosen to go that route, but if you didn't need to, then that's what you weren't going to be doing. But he was just so in with the 360 divas in the body. So you got the blood divas and the and all everything that's part of your body is devic. And of course that's in our teachings too, but it hadn't been put to me. I hadn't been presented to me in
Hmm.
that way. And so, yes, when by breathing in, I can't literally breathe in Devic, without Divas doing it for me.
Can you comprehend that? I mean, do you?
Well, I came to the society through the Devic Kingdom.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
Oh, you
that's
should do an episode on your story, Deborah, because tell us a
yeah,
bit
that
more
might
about that.
write, and then I might write a book. So then that wouldn't qualify me to come back again. So we won't be doing that. But no, I'm very much was in Devic, but I was more Devic, like the wind and the rain and the fairies in the garden.
Have you
Devic
seen
and
Divas?
growing. When I went to Findhorn, I think I think I saw a goose, Steve. I'm sorry, the goose, not a goose, as in quack. Um, what those bushes that have got the mustard flowers on? Gorse,
Oh yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
not goose. Not, I'm a goose. No, gorse. We were told to go out and sit with them, I I've got an active imagination, so it
Mm.
may well have been I just made it up, but it did seem at the time that I was having in communication with this bush. Yeah, and it was very, very special. And I was really excited, and everybody, when I went back and told my story, was really excited. But then that's why I think that actually I made some of it up because I liked the attention. So
Did you
I
read
think,
Jeffrey Hodgson's book? Have you read that one about the?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, I think I've got two or three of his. Um, love the way that he actually describes things. Again, nice and simple. Janet and John language that I
mm.
can really get behind. Um, yeah, wonderful.
Well, Nehemiah, he actually got me into the society. So my awakening story. You remember that one? I was in India, and then I
Mm.
found his YouTube channel. I was channeled to it, and he's an amazing. I mean, he was born. He had better karma than you, Deborah. He was born into a yogi family, and his father was one of the first disciples of Dr. King, and so he did. He's listening to the 12 blessings from zero, and doing mantra and pranayama at 3. And I remember one story of his. He woke up in the middle of the night as a young boy to go to the toilet, and he came back, and there was the food on the counter, the bags of shopping, and there were all divas flying in and out of that because they were so happy there was food for the family, and they were feeding on the energy. And
Oh,
yeah,
wonderful.
so he can, he's, for me, fully realized, but not fully realized, but he can, do astral projection and see the divas. And so I wrote a song for him called Blind and Groping in the Dark, about how I can barely see in front of my face compared to him. So
Mm.
yeah.
Next time round, though, Jack, we're going to be there.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It
Oh,
just to see all those things, auras around people, and to know you're doing the healing right, seeing it go out. And we're just blind, aren't we? We're just, or deaf or dumb compared to.
mm. Mind you, I actually, one of my very first psychic experiences, I guess, I didn't realize it was that, was on a peace lily. Used to keep indoor plants, and I had a really lovely peace lily which I loved. So now I know him because I love the peace lily. The peace lily loved me, and therefore it was a beautiful peace lily. Get that now, but not at the time. And I would sit and look at this peace lily, and it would be like there was a bubbling pot of steam coming in and around it. And I used to think, what's that? What's going on? And I was drinking at the time as well, you know, alcohol. So I used to wonder whether actually it was because I'd had one too many wines or something. But I would definitely see this bubbling cauldron of like boiling water. That's all.
Oh,
No, that's steam. And actually I could get so that whether I had a glass of wine or not, I could sit and tune into the piece. I'm talking the language now that I understand. At the time, I was looking at my peace lily, and it started having, see all these tendrils of steam, and it wasn't steam, but that's what it looked like. The shape was the same. And then the more I went into it, it was like the whole plant was a complete um turmoil of this wonderful energy. So that was maybe 40 years ago. So that was there. Um, but I didn't really realize what it was, and I didn't be telling anybody about that because they thought I was nutty enough anyway without
mm.
without joining that in. Um, so I do now, if I look at a tree or I'm particularly appreciative of a plant, a growing plant, I do still see that come.
So that's the secret. I have to try being appreciative, tune
Yeah,
in.
I think, I think we call it in the society opening the heart,
Mm.
so that the chakra here opens up. But for me, it's a case of like, you are so beautiful. So I could actually probably see it all around you, Jack. You are so beautiful, Jack. No, I'm not quite getting it, but
No,
I'll
sorry,
practice. I'll
I'm not in
practice.
flower today.
No. So yeah, so I think we've all got it, but it's a case of we reject it, if
Mm.
you want, because we don't understand what it is.
Yeah, or maybe I'm just not at the right frequency. I'm vibrating very much in the normal way, you know. And I can understand why people take drugs now. It's a very quick way just to take some psychedelics, tune
Mm,
into what's there. But like Nehemiah, he says you should never do that. You know, that's like taking your hands off the steering wheel.
yeah,
He doesn't say that in those many words. These are my words, but
yeah,
because you know he's just done the work, you know, and then he's got full control over it. So yeah.
then like, of course that's what we need, the full control to take the kundalini up and bring the kundalini back down again. And if you haven't
Mhm.
got full control, end up crippled or worse.
Yeah,
So
I'm not going into the practices, but he did it, I think, for 7
yeah,
years. Like,
yeah,
even though with that background and then 7 years, so
yeah,
he's really up there. So, but yeah, like you say, we'll get there eventually.
yeah, we will. Yeah.
And then I had another episode with Michael. We talked about his animals and more equipment he built for Dr. King. Another great episode. And then, so now, I think it was the last episode I'd done with the society, and now I'm going into like the last 5 episodes have been with older ladies such as yourself. This is the frequency I'm vibrating at now. The wise ladies of the village. You know, if we're in a village,
Yeah.
these
The
are the
old
people.
crows.
Yeah, these
Yeah.
would be the people who you'd want to speak to. No, not the not the men talking about football or you know in the latest hunting tribe, whatever they've been up to. But the wise old lady of the village. So I started with Rosicrucianism with Julie Scott from
Oh, fabulous.
well,
Wasn't that just fabulous? Yeah. And of course, Lady Monique came from she was a Rosicrucian.
is that right? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Um, and also the Findhorn, called the Devic Kingdom, like the Caddies, they were both from that background as well, well trained in Rosicrucian. And so that was like really really interesting for
What
me.
is Find? You have to say that again. Findhorn, is that a place in
Findhorn,
Scotland? Or?
it is that they set up a in the sand dunes. They grew the most magnificent vegetables by working with the Devic Kingdom. Cabbages like as big as your head type.
In
Uh, uh,
Scotland.
in Scot, but not just in Scotland. Sand dunes. Like so.
Mm.
So in other words, the soil, no soil, no
But
soil. And yet because they had this faith and they were told to be there. And I'm told by Paul Nugent that Dr. King went up there and visited um, Peter and Eileen Caddy before they'd actually set up Fimborn when he went to charge the mountains in Scotland.
did he really?
Yeah, so that because I wanted to live in Findhorn, I went up there and I was so taken with the whole thing. Thought this is it for me, but it did. There was something that wasn't quite right. And one
Mm.
of their wise men actually said to me, "You can't make it fit, Deborah." In other words, he could. And then I hadn't even sort of shared with him, but he said, "You can't make it fit." As much as you might want to be here, if you're not to be here, you'll regret it. You have to go with things. So
Mm.
I didn't actually end up moving to Scotland. Um, and then shortly after that, maybe 2 years after that, I found the society.
Mm.
And then after that, I found that Dr. King was actually, then I found all these other connections, which
Mm.
is like,
I know Paul Nugent's been there as well. He
mm,
talks about it. I think he was the other person that mentioned it to me first.
yeah,
That sounds like a
beautiful,
special place. It's still there, yeah?
beautiful. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Big, yeah. They used to have a school of learning at um, Cluny, which is like an old hotel. I think that they closed that down with COVID, but I think they still own it and will be opening it up. But the park, which is where the caddies set up, is still there, and it's just there's something like you walk into like a bubble of different energy.
Mm.
That's making it too simply. There's something that makes you feel really nice. Just walking around there, you suddenly feel like really nice and lighter and happier, and it's just a nice place to be.
Wow, make me wanna move there, yeah.
Yeah,
I could never get my
it's
girlfriend to go to Scotland. To move to
well,
Scotland from Italy is just it's
well,
not
it's a
gonna
bit of
happen.
a temperature thing going on there, isn't there, really? Uh, yeah. And the fact that she was, going back to Julie, that she was going into the Egyptian, how they use they dovetail with the Egyptian rituals,
Yeah.
and of
I never
course a
heard
lot of shape power as well going on there with the obelisks and what have
yeah.
you.
I never heard of it before, and I didn't know if they're central. I knew the Rosicrucians,
Mm,
but yeah, they built this fantastic park with all these Egyptian sculptures just south of San Francisco in California. It's Egyptian architecture in the middle
mm,
of America.
yeah.
It was yeah, they were incredible story.
And of course, the founder didn't he had just one lot, wasn't
Yeah.
didn't he? And but he actually foresaw it as being like more than one lot. And so when he was asked, he said, "Well, no, this is how I'm seeing it, not how it
Mm,
is now, but how it will be." And of course, that fits so well with what what we're taught as well, that you you envisage the world as it can and it will be, not as it is at the moment when we're
yeah.
sending out our blessings. And so that that just felt nice too. Uh,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, the proof of it, if you want. Yeah, fabulous.
She was so energized by that place as well. She had such
Mm,
a yeah, she had a beautiful energy too. What a place to work and what a thing to do. Is just if I was there, if I lived in that city, I'd just be there every day. I mean, even as a because it's not a religion. They're like the Theosophical Society in that they're not a religion, whereas the Aetherius Society is definitely a religion.
mm.
This it's funny the difference, isn't it? I thought I thought they were all kind of mystery schools or all kind of, but there is this differentiation.
Well, it's like Buddhism. They say that's not a religion either. It's just a way of life, or not just
I've
a
heard
way
that,
of
but that
life.
depends on who you speak to. Yeah,
Yeah, so we've got a little bit of fraction going on there, haven't we?
yeah.
The splinters splintering off. Yeah.
Isn't that funny? So that even Buddhism is not a religion. If they said that, but then the Aetherius Society is definitely a religion. So what's the
Mhm.
difference? What makes something a religion or not? What's the
Perception, perception of what a religion is. Some people might uh, have a block against being religious,
mm.
uh, and so it's just a different way of seeing the same.
And
Maybe.
is it if you pray to God, and we do a lot of praying in the Aetherius Society, that surely is the defining thing. If you because maybe with Buddhism they're not. Maybe you can. I know when I was doing Buddhism, you didn't pray. You just did a lot of meditation. Though you didn't. There was no effort to send out energy or anything like that. It was more
No,
about
it's
self development.
yeah, yeah, actually, I think you've got something there. Yeah, you've got yes, that's right. Big tick. Yeah, I've got big tick coming. I think that is probably it.
Mm,
The maybe the onus is more on developing self as
mm,
opposed to developing whole. Because again the new teachings that we have, that we've been given by Mars Sextus Six, is that no, that was the past where you do your self development and then you go from there. Now you've got to almost be like the the backstop,
yeah,
pushing like keep putting yourself down so you've got the energy then to lift other people up.
yeah.
um yeah, I think yeah.
Well, that's something
Well,
Richard Lawrence has been talking a lot about lately. I think he goes through these developments and then he talks about them, and then
mm,
because him and a few other people are really studying the teachings. They're really reading it all the time. They're reading all the old. Well, he'd been to all the old lectures, but yeah, that we're now. One thing he said recently is that we're now in line with the law from other planets, no?
mm,
Because there what used to be an allowance in the law that you could go into a cave in a kind of a selfish way, I'm going to divorce myself from all those chaotic people.
Mm.
I need to advance. I need to be at one with God. I need to be in peace. And then I'll do it in a cave. And then once you do raise Kundalini, then you are of greater service because an adept is worth the same as a city, and a master is yeah, I mean, it is a god to us. Basically, you can help so many more people. So yeah, they probably did need some people to be in the Great White Brotherhood like that, you know.
Mhm.
So, um, but yeah, like you say now, if there's this Darren was telling me yesterday, transmutation is going back to God as a whole, you know, because we
Yeah.
merge back to God as one. So you
Yeah.
need to raise all the boats.
Yeah, and even the galaxy can't go back until it's transmuted everything that's within it. So, yeah, got quite a few coming backs, you and I, Jack, as the back stops.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But thinking that, you know, I've what I really like about the teachings is the mechanics of everything. Like, so because I thought, as all the Buddhists would also, I mean, the ascension is like a flower opening. You know, it's a process, but it's as we love to teach, it's actually initiation that people have to do. You know, other
Mm.
people have to help you do, and that's the same with the primary initiation of Earth. It's not that the sun sends out a beam of energy and then God manipulates it and puts it in. You know, it's sending somebody reading out, you know, okay, send this back, send any back, and someone doing this and then bouncing to satellites.
Yeah.
It's this practicality of
Yeah.
there's a hands on there, and it's also like, you know, when the adepts came to do their missions, Dr. King said that it wasn't they weren't, you know, it's not just floaty beings
No.
floating around and
Yeah. Sending
spreading
out
their
love.
sending
Yeah.
out love,
Love.
and everyone just kind of no,
Yeah.
it's nuts and bolts, uh,
Yeah.
taking action, hands getting dirty, and
Yeah.
shit getting done.
Yeah. Yeah, that made me giggle actually quite recently when Dr. King's lecture, and he was saying, I haven't got people think I've got fairies in the garden, and when I want my carpet done, I go, pink, what's it? Stinky Pinky need carpet cleaning or some. No, that's my. He said no. He said if my carpet needs to be cleaned, then Stephen Medway plugs in the Hoover.
Mm.
Yeah, and vacuums the carpet. You know, it's you have to practically roll up your sleeves and you have to get on with it. As above, so below. And even like the we're told, aren't we, that the supreme lords of creation work, work constantly, not float around willy-nilly. No, work constantly round the one.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's all to do with work, you know, and that doesn't suit my lower self at all. I love being lazy.
yeah.
Laziness is something that I really am very good at.
I believe you, Deborah. I believe you.
Yeah, honestly.
There's also when that another one of those the Dr. King when he went to visit in Scotland again. He went to visit the Great White Brotherhood retreat, and you know they're working in there, taking. They have these kind of drones. You remember this one? You remember hearing this one?
Yeah,
I mean, they go in and they film things and then put it onto a kind of microfilm
yeah.
and record it and stack it up, you know? What the hell are they doing that? I mean, why aren't they just reading the Akashic records and it should be all there. They just pull something down. I mean, but it's this, it's incredible, no? I mean,
Well, I think what it is, we have to have all layers because we can't leave anything behind. And so you have to, so so as we progress, you know, the progression rate is that we can only take in so much at a time in our raising of consciousness. So there has to be within the Akashic record is the tapes and the books and the everything that we, you know, everything to lesser and or finer degrees if you
uh,
want to, but it has to all be there because it's all part of it,
yeah.
including you and I. We're part of it.
I've told this joke before, but it's kind of was so good it what bears repeating is that, you know, when they must be so disappointed, these monks who go into caves, you know, and they raise Kundalini all the way up. You know, they're experiencing bliss and nirvana.
Mm.
And what do? They have to then they get a job in data entry in the Great White Brotherhood. You know, sitting behind a computer tapping out. Or it's just you couldn't make it up, could you? I mean, because you think you're going to nirvana. You know, even theosophy. I think it's like didn't really does it communicate that well? I don't think.
I get a bit mud. It's a bit jumbled for me. Well, I think bit highbrow for me is probably the better word.
I'm reading
The
Madame Blavatsky's biography at the moment.
biography of not
Yeah.
the secret doctrine, because
Mm.
no, it's difficult,
It is, yeah.
toughly.
It
Yeah.
is tough. Yeah, it's kind of like all these like the Bhagavad Gita and everything. They just it's a brain dump, isn't it? Here's all I know. Makes you
Yeah.
appreciate something like because I think all those people like Madame Blavatsky, she was channeling all these masters, whereas Mars Sector 6 is the master. So
Yeah.
he just can just give it perfectly
Clean.
succinctly.
Yeah.
Here's the
Yeah.
this perfect pack, which just makes you appreciate how lucky we are to have the
Mm.
9 freedoms that even I can understand.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's brilliant. Yeah, very blessed to have found it, which means we've done something right along the way, Jack.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that was Julie Scott from Rosicrucianism, which
Mm.
we left her behind. But she was a lovely lady, and yeah, as I said, I definitely would be a Rosicrucian as well. I think you could hang out with her all day long and
Yeah.
do that. It'd be great.
Yeah. Super.
And then I had Susan Gash, who's a spirit doctor. So I found her because I'm subscribed to the Theosophical newsletter and the Rosicrucian newsletter, and I subscribe to the in London this what's the name, psychic studies, the Institute for Psychic Studies, which was
Mhm.
founded by like Conan Doyle and incredible. No, we've really gone up from a peak in the late 19th century now down. We really after the war we went off a cliff, didn't it? All that spiritual stuff.
Mm. Yeah. She was a lady with a white rose, wasn't she? High flower vibrations.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
she's bringing in that. Yeah. Um, I didn't resonate too well. So I'm sorry, Susan. Maybe I wasn't listening enough, but I didn't resonate too well. I just got that I understood that flowers would have a high resignation, and I would understand that would help us to raise our vibrations as well. But I didn't quite understand how the workings of the spirit doctors
Mm.
with Susan, but I understood it better with the next lady that came in from New Zealand, was she not?
Also,
Um,
yeah. Well, that's what happened with me. So it got me interested in this because we've talked about Harry Edwards, who
yeah.
Dr. King talks about a lot, and Nehemiah told me in one of his classes that a psychic person looked at Dr. Harry King when he was working. And because I'm thinking, in us in the society, we just send through the spiritual, we send through the white light through the hands, kind of like
Mm,
Reiki, and we
mm,
pump it into the body. And but Harry Edwards, actually, because he cured like 4 million people or something like that. He
mm,
was a dynamo, and he worked with spirit doctors on the other realms who are right here, just a different frequency of vibration, as you know, and so he worked with these experts, and they had equipment on the other realm, and so I wanted to hear more about that. So then I found this other doctor, this other lady who works with spirit doctors called um, Jeanette Wilson. Yeah, and so this is the lady you watched her video, yeah?
I did, yeah. There was something about Jeanette that I was, if you like, more lined up with, but maybe it was because I'd had Susan as like the a-
Right,
as
so
a
yeah,
base to
yeah,
reach
yeah,
in order to step up, which of course takes us back to the recording in the Great Right Brotherhood on tapes. You have to be able to take the food at the level you're at. So
right.
yeah, halfway stepping stone. Um, yeah, and I was fascinated too that how these doctors can like have a little chat about what should we do and who should we bring in. It's like bringing in another surgeon. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and how would we do that? And we'll fix your knees for you. Didn't she? She had
Yeah,
her
yeah.
knees fixed, but didn't even realize it. So yeah, we'll sort your knees out while you're here, and off you go. But it
Uh,
makes sense, doesn't it, when you realize that you only actually get problems in your physical knee after you've had problems in your etheric knee.
yeah,
So if they get the problem before it hits the physical, you don't have to suffer so much in the physical.
yeah. This was one of the best episodes for me so far. It really, really blew me away because felt I got so much closer because she remembered one past life where she was basically locked in a cage and used as a, in those Greek tales where she's the what do you call it, the oracle or the something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that,
yeah.
the
The
oracle, yeah,
oracle, yeah.
because she can tune in and so yeah, it was just great to speak to one of these people in person, and you could just tell that she was just so, you know, not jaded about telling her story, but that she'd done it hundreds of times,
Mm.
and she was just so genuine and really clear, and she can hear the. I think she can see them, the doctors. So she's a little more. Susan Gash can only hear them,
Mm.
whereas Jeanette can see them. So she's more maybe a few lives more developed in that area. But yeah, it was incredible. She's got about 600 videos online, and just miracle healings. People just haven't been able to walk, and they just get up and walk. It's just
Wow.
incredible.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, she's doing a lot, but yeah, I mean, you just wonder why she doesn't do whole stadiums of people. But it's just, I think with COVID came along, and she's from England originally, and she did lots of healings. So she's healed many, many people. So, but
But
she's
here in
dynamo.
this, but in this society, of course, although Dr. King says that doing hands-on healing obviously has its parts, we need to bring the vibration jet down to the point of one person. We have to expand it out to include everything, every rock, every tree, every insect, every person, because we're raising the planet, because we're working for Earth.
Mm, mm.
We're Earth workers. We're
Yeah,
working for the goddess, which has looked after us. Um, that makes me very proud, falsely. I
yeah,
mean, because my tiny little bit, but everything everything is just like lots of little bits.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, you and
yeah.
I
Because
are little bits.
we're in the same healing group. We meet every
Mm,
twice a week, don't we, online, and
mm.
we send out a healing. But yeah, I just haven't had anyone get up and walk like after
But
my
that's our ego, though, because we have to trust that just by doing our bit, is as the backstops of all, we're spreading ourselves like Marmite. Marmite goes a
uh,
long way, you see.
uh,
Yeah. So
okay.
that's it. We're Marmite.
All right, but you don't. So,
Little
yeah, use
goes
a
a long
different
way.
analogy because some people don't like Marmite.
Well, maybe. Yeah. But then, yeah, some people wouldn't like the society yet, would they?
Marmalade. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess it's society is Marmite. Yeah, yeah, that's a good analogy actually. Yeah. So that was one of my that really really excited me, that episode, and I did really enjoy that. So there was another one with Amira Hall. So she was actually between these two spirit doctor ladies. Did you listen to
No.
Amira?
No.
So she was, I think, in a grade of development below Jeanette, in that she has had a spiritual awakening, but she's still uh she's not up to Jeanette's level in terms of psychic abilities. So
So you had three spirit doctor ladies.
no, she was spiritual
Oh,
detoxing.
right. Oh, yes, the shower. Yes, I did listen to her.
Oh
But
yeah,
she said that she did a spiritual shower, which
yes,
a
that's right.
cleansing. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I
yeah.
did. I did. Sorry, I just didn't write any notes down. So no,
But she
again,
was
I'll just.
also, glowing, and so to go through these awakenings is like to talk to people who've gone through it just raises my consciousness.
Mm,
It's really inspiring too. Yeah.
good.
And then, well, I think that's it actually, because the last one, Atlantis, which went live today. So you haven't seen that one yet, but that's
Ah,
with Robin Maxwell, who's a writer about Atlantis. But I'll go
ah,
into that with my
with the next guest.
next victim.
Oh, well, thank you, Jack,
No,
for
thank
allowing
you.
me to come on. As you know, I'm trying to practice and get my head around this technology, so this is all good for me.
Yeah, but you're doing a
Appreciate
great
it.
job with if anyone isn't interested in learning more, they can join this King Yoga group, which is a Facebook group that you help run, yeah?
Yeah, awakening through King Yoga. Yeah.
And what do people do in that group? You don't have to be a member, do you?
You have to be a member of the group, and so you have to actually purchase the workbook that because we've got some initiation of mantra, what have you. But it's a self-development to actually um, allow yourself to explore your spirituality within a safe environment. So yeah, that's really the only criteria. You don't need to be a member of the Aetherius Society, but you do get the opportunity to practice with like-minded people.
Mm.
So it's a good thing.
Well, that's probably one of the easiest admissions to a mystery school that I've ever heard of. I mean, before you probably had to do a lot more back in the day, but now all you need to do is buy a book. And
Yeah, £10. £10 will get you
what
in.
is the book? What is the name of the book?
It's realised I don't think I've got a copy. Otherwise, I'd be showing it to you, but no, I haven't bought it here. But it's realise your inner potential
Okay.
through King Yoga
True King Yoga by Richard Lawrence and Dr.
and
George
Dr.
King.
King. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm getting so much from it. There was this buddy program now. There's this new idea where you just teamed up with another member, and that's going really well. Just having someone to chat to because, yeah, I'm in here in Italy, and I get to chat to people with this podcast. But and you have the Sunday social as well. You run that as well, which I'm also going to help with in future.
Excellent.
Yeah, so just an opportunity to chat to people because we all have these questions which are not interesting enough to ask someone, I guess, on a podcast, but just am I doing the practices right, or how do I do this, or where did this come from, and
Well, I've had this experience. My nose got blocked up. Hasn't got blocked up for ages. How do you unblock your nose? That it's yeah.
even a nose as big as mine, it happens to me as well.
It's got a lot. It's got yeah. Yeah.
All right, smash. Well, we could keep chatting all day, but we've gone over the hour, so and it's 11:11 flashed up there on screen, so
Okay.
good time to stop.
Okay. Thank you, my love.
Namaste.
Yeah.
See you
Bye-bye
later,
for now.
Debra. Bye
Yeah.
bye.
Bye. Bye.